Hiya papaya everyone, Claire Fluffle here, and if you know very much of anything about me and my addiction to all things Fire Emblem Engage...
I lost.
Well, almost all things Fire Emblem Engage, you know how much I love my little puppy boy, Alfred, who's actually a puppy man. He's apparently 24 years old. And not a lot of people know that, but I mean, hey, fun Alfred facts in a video that's not really about Alfred. Yeah, you'd expect if you watch most of my other videos or my streams or follow me on Twitter or heard me talk for 5 seconds about Fire Emblem Engage, Alfred to be my favorite character. Yeah, and sure, he definitely wins in terms of, I mean, you know. But no, while he's a very close second, he actually loses out to someone else. This video goes out to the one character in Fire Emblem Engage who stole my heart even more than Alfred.
Not today!
Huh? I'll beat you to a pulp.
Hell yeah! Oh my god, where do I even start here? One look at Panette and you'd expect someone wild and crazy, but she acts very refined and polite. And by acts refined and polite, I do mean acts because it becomes very obvious very quickly that something isn't lining up. Her crit quotes, her changes in voice and tonality, those base stats. What kind of fancy woman has a 25 strength at base? Excuse me? There's a lot that goes into what makes her as fun and complex as she is, but if we're gonna start anywhere, it really should be her attitude. And we'll throw her design and voice in there as well. They all complement each other great on a lot of different levels. We'll get into specifics later, but her outfit and makeup obviously scream some kind of punk, and I adore it. But the more you listen to her talk all polite-like, the more fun the contrast becomes. Hearing someone try so hard to be fancy that their WHs or their Ws actually have a bit of a whistle to them is, honestly, it's really cute.
What do you mean by that?
And even before I knew very much about her, I thought this contrast was very interesting. Then the cracks started to form around the act and she starts saying things like, "I'll beat you to a pulp," or "You looking down on me?" Or my absolute favorite that you already know I'm gonna be spamming throughout this whole video, "Hell yeah!" And while her design and general mannerisms definitely sell this, shoutouts to her deranged angry eyes when she gets really annoyed or, you know, when you start combat. It's not quite American Kirby, but she's up there already. I think the voice is really, for me at least, what sells it the most. Again, the simple fact that she whistles her whiz just sends me. But her voice actress, Melissa Hutchinson, just kills it here. She absolutely nails the professional side of Panette while still selling her as the angriest, most bitter little lady gremlin with that 25 base strength. Good God! Who okayed those bases? And how can I get the worry? Before I go absolutely insane gushing over what I really love about Panette, I do want to make some mention of her supports because her backstory, so to speak, is actually really good. I'm not quite as crazy about her as Alfred in this regard, but she's still one of my favorites in the entire game. Panette was raised in a church, her father an abusive priest and her mother an intense alcoholic, and was raised alongside her brother Pandreo, who's another one of my favorites in this game. Hey, how about that?
Why are you working for the church?
That's what you wanted to know, huh?
Dad was a drunk. Mom was a corrupt priest who couldn't be bothered to look after her kids. They were lousy parents. So why would you want to follow in their footsteps? Serve their church?
I told you what happened after you left, right? They disappeared.
Yeah, so?
Well, the church's followers needed someone to guide them. That's why I stepped in.
So that's what it was.
After she ran, her parents disappeared and were never seen again. While Pandreo took responsibility and took over his dad's role for the church, Panette found herself taking out her anger and frustration on anyone she could. Until she met Tamara, future Queen of Solm, who was so impressed by what she saw Panette doing, as is beating a bunch of people up, as she do, Tamara said, "Hey, you want to work for me?" This impacted Panette so much that she put aside her anger and learned how to act more like nobility, which is where the "I'm so sorry, are you injured?" versus "Hell yeah" split comes from. In some supports, like in her one with Yunaka, she'll break out of the fancy mold and break back into her old habits. By the way, both sides of Panette, a lot of fun, but talking about the Yunaka support specifically, the genuine best line in the entirety of Fire Emblem Engage, one of the best lines in all of Fire Emblem, just being completely real here, is this.
One more step, and we'll turn your intestines into out-testines. Got it?
And you know what? She absolutely could do that to anybody, I'm sure. With the bases like these at Chapter 13, girl, go crazy. Panette is really, really good at doing that, but not quite as good. Oh my god, wow, this is like the worst segment I've ever had for the subscribe, please. But not quite as good as everyone giving this video a like and ringing the notification bell. Those things all really do help me out, and if you want to super help me out, you can also let me know down in the comments what you think about Panette. Hopefully you like her, because, I don't know, I'd be very sad if you didn't, I guess. I don't know, I do feel like I kind of have to do this. I mean, only 56% of you are subscribed, and I mean, like, that's much lower than what Panette's crit rate is, so if you could help that number go up and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Thank you! Now, back to talking about Panette. I know this may come as a shock to the system coming from a gameplay snob like me, but absolutely what escalates Panette to one of my favorites to my single favorite in the whole game is how she functions in the game itself. Even on Maddening, right off the bat, she is really good. 25 base strength with a silver axe is kind of absolutely insane, and while she's very slow due to being weighed down by her silver axe, you can easily give her another weapon to help her out in the speed department. Not to mention her build growth is surprisingly decent. Well, by typical build standards, I mean. Point is, if you use her to beat you to a pulp, then she shouldn't have the speed issue for too long. Well, more specifically, she shouldn't be getting doubled by anybody for too long. She won't need to actually double anybody in return. Panette is super satisfying as one of Engage's most reliable, easy to set up, fun critical hit machines. The footage you're seeing in the back is Hector's DLC paralogue, being done around Chapter 18 with basically a full squad of promoted units, soloed by Panette. Alear is only there because, you know, it's Alear, she has to be there. Also because Byleth Dance is insanely good and just makes the map go by a little quicker. This is what happens when you don't let Byleth become a dancer in a game that was the face of the franchise for 3 years. And, I mean, I guess it is still kind of the face of the franchise, even with Engage being out. Huh. Panette's insanity comes from a few factors, but the most fun is her personal skill, Blood Fury! With it, she gets an additional 10 crit if she isn't at full HP. There's I might keep this in the video, I'm not sure. There's a gnat in here. I'm gonna swat at it, and I'm gonna say, I'll beat you to a pulp! Alright, Panette will save me later. Ooh, wait, that's it? 10 crit? What's so fun about that? The fun comes from how absolutely nuts the rest of the game is, Selly. For example, she can get a free 30 crit just by having Wrath from the Ike emblem equipped, or by inheriting it. I say she gets it for free because she will very easily take damage. Not that Panette is super frail or anything, it's just that her max HP is... On that note, the obvious thing to do is to give her a killer weapon. They add 30 crit, as they normally do, but on top of Wrath and Blood Fury, this gives her around 70 crit. There are other ways to improve her crit, like engraving and forging, but it takes surprisingly little to get Panette to 100 crit consistently. Pair this with something like Vantage, or Vantage Plus, or Vantage Plus Plus, or Vantage Plus Plus Plus. Is that it? I think that's it. From Leaf, and she'll be an absolute monster on enemy phase. And by that, I mean completely capable of soloing late game maps. I personally like putting Divine Pulse Plus from Byleth on her, alongside Vantage. How many pluses can we fit into one skill, just because, in case she misses, she won't miss. That's actually pretty easy to explain. With a forged killer axe, killer bow, and a longbow, she has her bases covered in terms of range. Even Thunder Tomes can't do much to her thanks to the longbow. Engage has a lot of very silly mechanics, but I'm definitely in the camp who thinks Panette plus Ike is the single most fun. That being said, you can absolutely use other Panette builds to great effect. Sigurd gives her added physical bulk, more movement, lances, and cancer without having to inherit it. Lynn is just a good emblem for anybody, and the speed boost is much appreciated, given Panette's base speed could definitely do to be a little bit better. DLC emblems like Edelgard and Hector work pretty well on her, and if you opt to just give her Leaf instead of Ike, you can inherit Wrath and actually use Adaptable to good use, thanks to the Killer Axe, Killer Bow, Longbow weapon list from earlier. I know, Adaptable is actually good. Don't get so surprised that, like, you die on me or something, okay? It's not that shocking. Well, alright, maybe it is, but speaking of death, I won't lie, I've 100% seen Panette's death screen way more times than I have for any other unit in this game. And that's just kind of what comes with the territory of using a unit like this so much. But this isn't a bad thing. It actually feeds into one of my favorite aspects of Fire Emblem as a series, risk-reward. Fighters have always been my favorite class line because they deal so much damage while taking it all in return. And while Panette isn't technically a fighter, Berserkers are on the natural promotion path to fighters in this game, so I get to cheat and say that she is. Woohoo! Cheating! I love cheating! I love cheating in my Nintendo games!
I would really not be screaming that at the top of your lungs.
If there's one more thing that I would want to talk about regarding Panette, it's comparing her to another character, one that you may have heard me talk about in other videos, even ones that have literally nothing to do with Fire Emblem. And ones that do. Like this one. Yes, I did say at the start of the video that I like Panette more than I like Alfred, and I stand by that. It's not Alfred's fault, he really does do his best, and I do love him, but the Panette Ike combo is just way too much fun for even Alfred to stand up to. And don't get me wrong, Alfred does have some fun builds. I am fond of the Silver Great Lance plus Sigurd combo alongside Self-Improver for more damage on enemy phase, but I would never say that it compares to the joys of Panette and Ike. Not much in the series does, if anything at all, and don't get me wrong, like I said, Alfred's a cutie, but Panette is insane, while not being insane, and while being insane all at the same time. Love her, she's fantastic. I will admit, in terms of supports and their general character and personality stuff, I think I may still slightly prefer Alfred, but Panette's sillier hobbies on top of her genuinely interesting past, and again, her absolute insanity, make her a really fun character in her own right. I don't like her that much less than Alfred, and she wins in basically every other category. You're still only going to see me get the paired ending with Alfred, but that's nothing on Panette. I blame the writers for making someone as cute as Alfred have the ending that he has. I won't spoil it, but it makes me very, very sad. But I think that covers it. That's basically all I can say about Panette without diving into super specifics, which, for gameplay at least, I wouldn't mind doing someday. If you watched this late into the video, I guess let me know if that's something you want to see. Fire Emblem videos on this channel are always really hard to predict what'll do well versus what won't, so I appreciate anything if you enjoyed the video. Enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed Panette? It's not too crazy over here, but if you're close, I'd be happy if you could help me out. I gave the spiel already though, so I guess there's really just nothing left to say here, except that I have been Claire. Thank you all so much for watching, and hell yeah!